Okay, so now in order to trade with my method, what I usually do is before the market opens, I look at what happened in the pre-market hours. I start drawing fibs to see how price moved, and eventually I get to the most current fib, which is the one I decide whether I should trade or not once the market starts or once the market opens. So in this case for June 1st, what I would do is I would start the first bar on June 1st, which would be this red one right here, and start drawing my fibs. Okay, this one meets the criteria. It's at least 4 points wide, got to 50%, then went past 0% line into -23.6 before retracing. So I draw a new fib from this pivot high to the pivot low right here, got to 50%. Now as you can see, this fib went past 0% line at least halfway through and then retraced. However, there's no point in drawing a fib from here to here because it would be from 1341.25 to 1344.5. That's just 3¼ points wide, so it doesn't meet the criteria. So I just keep this one here. You see price then retraces again, gets close to the 50% level. Okay, if I were to just move the 0% line, it would get to the 50% level, and then it breaks past the 0%, -23.6%, and to the -50%. So this is what when we need to draw an extended price fib, because as you see, price moved down precipitously and never retraced. So what I would do is I would look for the previous pivot low to the high I was using, and then move the 0% line to the new pivot low that was made just here. As you can see, price then gets to the -23.6% line, retraces back to the 0% line. So I would move the 0% line over here. Okay, and this would be the most current fib when the market opens. Okay, so as you can see, the price opens right at the 50% level. So in this case, you can, if you want to trade this, you can just put your trade right at the 50% level. You would have been filled, or one tick below, which you would have been filled as well with the first bar. And that's how I start my trading. I first analyze what happened in pre-market hours just for this day. That's why I measured from here and not from this high or from this high. Just what happened on June the 1st, the high to the pivot low, and start measuring the fibs. Okay, so this would have been my first trade of the day, or this actually was my first trade of the day. Okay, so let me see, as time started progressing, as you can see, price went to the 50% level, then came down past the 0% line to a -23.6 and moved up, then continued to move down. Okay, so if I were moving my fib, I would have moved it here for the first time. This is where I moved it. Then it continued to move down to the -23.6% level and retraced to the 0% level. So I moved my fib once again till here, and as you can see, the distance between the pivots now is way too much. Okay, the distance between the 50% level and the 76.4% level is above 2 points, so I wouldn't be taking any other trades with this this fib. Then as you can see, price continued to fall and continue to fall. Okay, so started retracing here. If I were to move it over here, I mean, still not gonna be trading it. Keeps moving. Now when this happens, what I sometimes do is that once the distance between the two is this wide, or 10 points or more, what I do is I just start drawing regular fibs from the last pivot high to the pivot low. Although that would be that increases the risk somewhat of taking bad trades, because price has moved in an extended fashion, so a big retracement could happen. So if I were to draw from the pivot high here to this pivot low, when price retraces, it could go blown past the 50% level, past the 76.4% level, and stop me out. Okay, but in this case, had I drawn this other fib, then as you can see, price came to the 50% level, then got to its target, and continued to move between the 0 and 23.6% level, move to the negative 23.6. Okay, so, and then retraced. So I would be looking to draw another fib from here to here, which does match the criteria. And let me erase that one. Okay, price then moves, passes the midway point between these two, and traces back. So I would extend the 0% line over here. Does so again. Move my 50% line. I'm sorry, my 0% line over here. Continues to move. Continue to move the 0% line. Okay, and by this time, as you can see, the distance between the 50 and the 76.4% is 2 points. So I wouldn't be taking any trades. So I wouldn't be taking this trade. So even though, as you can see, it would have worked out, still I would not have taken this trade, because the distance between my entry point and where my stop would have been greater than 8 ticks. And that's how I would have traded this had I moved my fib. Now I only took the first entry, and since price was extending too much, I just stopped for the day. Took my 5 ticks profits, and since that was all the market was willing to give me, that's what I took. But as you can see, there were other entries. When price extends too much, all I do is forget about the extension and start drawing regular fibs from the most recent pivot high to the most recent pivot low. Although I am aware that the risk is greater, because price has isn't moving in an extended fashion, so to speak. And I know it could retrace and blow past the 50% level and hit my stop.